Suddenly, people all over the world are waking up. And to the extent that we are ready to share and to cooperate and to be a part of that worldwide awakening, we will be a part of it. We must have ourselves ready. We must be a model of what we're talking about. The new age, the new heaven and new earth must have arrived in us already before we can demonstrate that to the world. I think that's what our responsibility is, and that's where we are in relationship to all these who are suddenly waking up right now. The Father is called and is waiting for us to wake up. I wonder if it has ever occurred to you that fully 99% of the people of the world believe that they are victims. Probably most of you. It's a very unusual thing to meet a person who does not believe that he's a victim. Almost everybody believes that if he's happy, it's because somebody made him happy, or because some situation around him in his environment has made him happy. Almost everybody needs an excuse to be happy. They depend on things to make them happy. And almost everybody, if he is angry or unhappy, blames somebody else. We insist that someone has made us unhappy. If we experience anger, we insist that somebody else has made me angry. We love, apparently, to live as victims. Now, the interesting thing about that is we probably do it because we don't want to take responsibility for our own emotions and for the way that we feel. We want to say, if I feel anger, I feel guilty about feeling my anger, therefore I don't want to take responsibility for it. I want to say, that's your responsibility. You made me angry. But there's a little problem with that. I can't possibly escape my responsibility for my emotions without letting you be in charge of my emotions. And interestingly, if you would actually deliberately make me mad, that means you're my enemy, by definition. Anyone who would deliberately make you angry is, by definition, in that moment, your enemy. Now, if you're going to cop out on responsibility and make that person in charge of how you feel, all of a sudden, the person that is in charge of how you feel is your enemy. Isn't that a sad state of affairs? But that's where most people live. Most people are controlled by their enemies. Now that includes their emotions and their physical health. There is not an emotion that you can experience, not one single emotion that you can experience, that won't change the chemical balance in your body. Emotions cause chemical reactions. The body is a chemical machine. It is run by chemistry. You move your muscles by chemistry. You use electricity and chemistry to think, to move, to create, to visualize, to do all of the things you do. The body is a chemical machine. All emotions affect body chemistry. Body chemistry affects your health. All health is created from body chemistry. Now, you have two choices. Either you yourself, individually, will take responsibility for your world, your heaven and your earth, how you feel, what you experience, at all levels, or you will let other people around you, other forces external, be in charge of what you think and feel emotionally and spiritually, and your physical health. You are putting other people, your enemies of all people, to do it. You're putting your enemies in charge of your physical health. Is it any wonder we have health problems? When we cop out on creating, as we were told to, in the beginning, if you could see, visualize what occurred as the earth was created, I think that you might find a single unit, a giant body, made up of cells, like the cells of your body, cells that make up your muscles. These cells of a body working together to make creation. And the consciousness in that body said to the cells of the muscles of that body, let us make this earth. Let us make creation. If you study back in metaphysical interpretations of creation, a lot of people try to come up with who that us was. Was God plural? Or, as many people in metaphysics say it, was there a big daddy and then all of these Elohim who cooperated with him and made man who's way down here? When he said us, he meant us. Let us. You and me, we were the cells in that body that made this creation in the first place. Let us make this creation and then let us experience this creation. And then, becoming a part of that creation, the thing that we lost sight of is that we never stopped creating. We're still doing it. There is not a single condition that exists right now that was not created by us, not by God, except as you recognize that us is God. We are what God is. I am. The very name of God is I am. And that is what created this heaven and earth, this universe in the beginning. The interesting thing is that as these creative consciousnesses began to look one cell at another and say, I want more of this than you have, then the entire organism had to react. Because by definition, that produces a systemic disease. Look at your own physical body. If one of your cells in your body should say to the other one, I want more than you've got, what have you got? You've got a cancer. And the same thing occurred, so that when one man, one entity, one of these cells of the whole creative being began to compete with another, all of creation reacted, so that suddenly roses had thorns, and cactus had thorns, and bees had stingers, and animals of the earth began to cooperate. There was none of that until one consciousness became competitive. It was a creative consciousness, and it created a thought form, it created an atmosphere, all reacted, responded to it. The same is true right now. Creation in this moment, in this second, is what you make it. And you can change it as you changed it in the beginning. We are creators. We are in the process of creation. Now, any second that I shift that responsibility to somebody else, I'm going to have to experience what I am allowing that other person to create. But interestingly, he can do all that creating and he doesn't have to live with the result of it. If I have put him in charge of my emotions, I have to live with the result of it. It would make a lot of sense for any one of us to become aware that I'm the person who's going to have to live with the result of any emotion that I allow to exist in my environment, in my universe. I have to live with the result of that emotion. It's not possible for me to experience a negative emotion, hate, or anything else without changing the body chemistry of my body. Hate is usually aimed at somebody else, and it may hurt that other person. But don't forget that it changed the chemistry of my body in my experience. And sadness, anger, if another person puts out an excuse for me to be angry, the choice is still mine. It is absolutely impossible for anyone else to make me angry. No one can make you mad. Only you can do that. Another person can create a situation to which you can react with anger if you want to. But it's still your choice. Now, if you believe that you're a victim, and if you really want to be a victim, you can go ahead and insist to me, oh, that's foolish. People do make each other mad. Of course they do, because people live as victims. Almost everyone believes that he's a victim. And you can pretend that you are if you want to, but you're not really. Nobody is, really. There are just a lot of people playing as if they were victims so that they can cop out on responsibility. They still are making the choices. If they're angry, it is because they decided to be angry, because he did so and so, and that gives me every right to be angry. Of course you've got a right to poison your body if you want to, I suppose. But you also must realize that you have to live with the result of that. Getting angry with another person has little to do with that other person. What it really amounts to is, I've got a right to poison my body with these things that are going on inside me because he created that condition. How much sense does that make? Consider all of the emotions that you go through because another person gave you an excuse for going through those emotions. And find out if that's really what you want to experience or not. It's not possible to be hurt without causing chemical changes in your body. And the chemical changes that come as a result of hurt are atrocious. The things that you do to the cells and the glands, the tissues, the organ of your body are highly destructive when you're going through hurt. Well, do you want to experience that? Oh, but I don't have any choice. He hurt me. Really? What did he do? Well, he created this external condition that it purely exists in his environment, but I'm jealous because I want to be in that environment, and I want to be in control of what he thinks, and he's thinking something that I didn't tell him to think. I want to be responsible for his happiness, and if I'm not doing something to make him happy, then he's got no right to be happy. So I'm hurt. Does that sound familiar? Isn't that the way we think, and isn't it stupid? It's really dumb. We really put ourselves through some ridiculous trips trying to manipulate each other. And we try to manipulate each other by causing someone else to have an emotion. We want to be responsible for the happiness of the people we love. Why? Because we love them. Why? Be honest about it. Because we want to manipulate them. We want to own them. We want them to belong to us. Because we love me. And I want to consider that person an extension of me. And I don't want them to experience anything that isn't an extension of me. Well, the problem with being that possessive of others and that manipulative of others is that it causes a belief system that others have that power over me. I have given that person permission to affect my emotions when I have invested my emotions in him in that manner. Does that mean then that I shouldn't love? That I shouldn't care for people enough so that they can affect me? That's getting into a lot of semantical double talk, actually, and a lot of belief systems that don't make a great deal of sense. For example, what does loving a person have to do with giving him permission to hurt me? Couldn't I show my love for another person a lot more by demonstrating to him that I can be calm and serene and experience pure joy even when he is in the depths of despair? If I love him enough, I'm going to get down there and wallow with him, right? And make this situation worse? Is that what we do? It is what we do, but it doesn't make sense. Just a few weeks ago in California, we were at the Westerbeck experience, and the Westerbeck experience was a 10-day live-in experience where everybody came to this fabulous ranch, beautiful place with 2 swimming pools and a hot tub with a jacuzzi running in it, and there were actually peacocks running around the grounds and flourishing their feathers. Beautiful place. And there were 27 people there taking ILC. And there just happened to be one little lady there who was dying of cancer. professionally. I mean, she was really dying, and she left no doubt about it. She was a pathetic, very, very thin little lady with a very gray aura and a voice that had a very distinct whine and was very soft. You had to listen very closely and lean over because she was in the process of dying. And she wanted to make sure that everybody knew that because she had been put on television by the Symingtons who were treating her, and she was the example of how to be a cheerful dying patient. And so here she was, dying in front of us, doing the thing that she did best, the thing that she was proud of, and the thing that she had gained most attention in her life for was dying. And she was in this process of doing all of these people who had come there to have a beautiful experience and be happy with ILC suddenly had this dying lady. How can I have fun in the presence of this? And they were all feeling, can't we do something? I mean, maybe we should heal her. Why heal her? She's getting more attention than she ever got in her life. She's doing what she does best and what she is thoroughly enjoying. Obviously, she's putting so much effort into it. She talked about my pain. My pain, she was calling it. And my cancer, it was her cancer. But only because she possessed it. She claimed it. So everybody is saying, what can we do? And I said, have a great time and show her how beautiful life can be if you get tired of dying and start living. You know, don't do that for a living. Live for a living. Well, it took at least 4 days to convince her. But we were having so much fun while she was lying over there in the shade watching things from a distance and wanting somebody to come and sympathize with her. Every time anybody sympathized with her, you know what happened? She began to pity herself, and tears would roll, and they would feel rotten. And chemical changes came in their body, and they were participating in her dying experience. And finally, people quit doing that, and by the end of the week, she was laughing. Her color changed. She got up and moved around. She couldn't even walk before. She got up and moved around. She wouldn't eat. She refused to eat the first of the week. By the end of the week, we were stuffing her. Everything changed in that woman's life, and then suddenly she started talking about what she wanted to do for a living. She got tired of dying. Changed her mind. Changed her mind about this whole process. And it got so that every time she would talk about her cancer or her pain or any of these other things, people just refused to discuss that and got on to another subject right away. We choose our experience, and whether you like it or not, you have chosen and are now in the process of choosing what you are now experiencing. All of your experience, all of it, all of it. There just are no exceptions. You are choosing your physical health, your physical condition right now. And it may sound ridiculous when you say, but I don't want this. I know I don't want it. Well, of course, in the part of you that was created by our society and is taught to deny what it is building, you don't want it because you don't let yourself look at all of the things that you're creating. But look how you arrived at where you are, and if you will start examining a cause-effect relationship, you'll start figuring out just how you put yourself there because you did quite deliberately. People who say, there was another man at the Westerbeck experience I should mention here because there was a young man with a lot of education. He's a psychotherapist. And he came to me and he let me know that we really should let him have this Westerbeck experience for free because he hasn't had a job in a long time. And he's a psychotherapist, and he's working on putting together this clinic, and he could really share this experience with other people if we would let him take this experience, and so on. He went through this whole number. And then finally I said to him, you know what you're doing? You're precipitating. And it's a great technique. We teach it in ILC, and you should really come and take the class. And I walked away from it. Now, he wound up manipulating. He called the people at the ranch and said, well, I'll work it off if you'll let me stay there, because the ranch made a separate charge from our charge. So he managed to get out there, and he told one of the other teachers that I had said that he could come and take the experience, because I had said, you really ought to take the class, and he assumed that meant that he could get it for free. Well, the next thing I know, I arrive out at Westerbeck Ranch, and here's this man taking the experience for free, the whole thing, the ranch, the class, everything. He had precipitated, as a matter of fact. But when it came to the class on precipitation, he got a real lesson, because we used him as an example in class. You can precipitate what you want, but why not precipitate the money to pay for what you get? He could have precipitated the money to pay for that experience, and then we could have shared the experience with somebody else using the money that he used to pay for the experience. And with all the manipulation that he did to get that class, he could have gotten the money to pay for it just as easy. When you pull from the universe what you want to experience, you pull it by a system of beliefs. And unfortunately for him, he believes that he has to experience poverty and get things by manipulating other people so he can get them for free, because he doesn't really want to pay for anything. He doesn't really want to pay for anything, and it saves him from paying for anything if he doesn't have the money to pay for anything. So he lives life without money to pay for things because he doesn't want to, because he wants to manipulate and get things other ways. That's the way he used to be. He's not that way anymore. He experienced some new things as a result of this, but you can too. And you can start right now consciously participating in what you're creating. And what I'm really talking about is forming a link between your conscious mind, which has played the game of victim long enough, and your creative mind, which has made the world that you live in. That creative mind is capable of creating heaven instead of earth or hell, whichever you've been living in. And if you want to create hell as the result of your guilt feelings, if you know that you deserve to experience hell, you will, no doubt, create it and live in it. If you want to create earth where things are hard and you have to work by the sweat of your brow, you can create that and you can live in it. But here's an invitation. Come on to heaven and live there. Live in the kingdom of heaven where God lives, where your creative consciousness lives. And instead of letting it create at random as the result of your irrational thinking and emotions and experiences, participate with it and make rational decisions to create what you want to experience and what you want to enjoy. And I can guarantee you this. If you will take whatever conditions are around you right now, however miserable they are, and decide there's no reason why I ought to be in this miserable condition and be unhappy too. Change your response to the condition, however miserable it is. Change your response to it. And I guarantee you the condition will change. No exceptions. Just no exceptions. If you will change your position from being a victim to being a cause, if you will take charge and responsibility for your emotions and your health and your finances and your relationships, if you will take responsibility for creating them, they will change. They will change into the kinds of things that you want to experience. And examine what you want to experience and why you want to experience it. Because if you still have some underlying beliefs, well, I'd really like to experience what he does, but he's different. those underlying beliefs will manifest. He will be different. You will experience this other thing. You can prove me wrong if you want to. But that's your experience. I'll still have mine. You can't prove me wrong in my experience because I'm experiencing mine. And that's where I intend to live, and you can't change it. Because I'm creating this universe that I live in. And I fully intend to keep it that way. And you can do that for your experience too. You can prove to me that in your universe you can live as a victim if you want to. But that's your universe. But I can prove to you that you don't have to live there if you don't want to. By the way I live my life in my universe. So change it. Change those belief structures. Change those limitations that say I can't, and start I-canning a few things. Love yourself. You're the apple of God's eye, the masterpiece of His creation, and it just delights Him no end for you to frolic in this creation and love it, because that's what He created it for. Don't experience any guilt about enjoying what God gave you to enjoy. Thoroughly enjoy, love life, love living it, and love those who are in this life with you, and love to give them joy. Because what you're creating, you will experience. If you're creating resentment toward another person and his experience, you can't help but experiencing what you create. It's your resentment, it isn't his. Regardless. And get away from the things of saying, but he doesn't deserve. Don't worry about that. You don't deserve to be experiencing that envy that you're experiencing. Be concerned about your own inner experience and know that you don't deserve to experience jealousy. You don't deserve to experience unhappiness. You don't deserve to experience hurt. You don't deserve to experience hate. You don't deserve to be a victim. So change all that and don't be. Let other people experience what they create if they want to. But better yet, become a demonstration to this world and to this universe that it is possible to experience and express pure joy all the time. And our love will be demonstrated by the fact that it's catching. And other people will begin to experience and express pure joy. It's the best way in the world to get people to ask questions. Somebody left the Westerbeck experience, and a hostess in a restaurant asked him if he was in love. Because of what showed around him. And that wasn't the only one. That happened all over the place. What is it with these people around you? People ask me in San Diego. It's these people that are with you. What happened to them? They were all experiencing, expressing pure joy. As a matter of fact, they were bouncing all over the place. You should have seen them. Mary Elizabeth and Randy and Ted, they got down there to San Diego and they saw this huge crowd of people, and they were just jumping up and down. Olga Worrell was there, and the president's sister, what's her name, she was there. And she came over. They got all excited about what was going on and what we were experiencing. Probably the greatest thrill of my life, I've got to tell you this, was out of that huge crowd, 3,000 people, I've been standing up there and telling them about the God that I had grown up with and the guilt that I had experienced and all of that. And I told them about the traumatic experience that I went through, and I said, now at that point I knew that what I wanted was not God, or at least if it was not that God that I grew up with. And the whole audience burst into applause. Obviously they felt the same way. And I talked about this new unlimited God that I had found, a new and different God that didn't have this label stamped on him that said Baptist. It wasn't a God that existed in a square brown box. He didn't have a label at all. And I talked about this, and at the end of the talk, there were microphones all over the audience, and one man came up to a microphone to speak. Now, I have to tell you that the Southern Baptists have something like 7 different seminaries across the United States. The largest seminary in the world is Southwestern Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. But the oldest Baptist seminary is Southern Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. And I had mentioned that I went to Southwestern as we were talking in the lecture there. This man came up to the microphone, and the first thing he said was, Southern Seminary, class of 41. He said, I'm a pastor of a church right here in San Diego, and I want to know the God you worship. And right after I talked with him, another man came to the microphone, and he said, I'm a Congregationalist pastor, and I want to know this God too. And then I asked, how many pastors are in the audience? And hands went up all over the audience. And I said, okay, let's have a pastor's conference right after this talk. I want to talk with all you ministers. I've been wanting to do that so long. And they thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, they really got into what we're doing. There are churches now on the West Coast that are talking about what we're talking about, and these pastors are going to take ILC when we go back out. It's going to change the consciousness of the educational community through the high schools, of the medical community through these doctors, of the church through these ministers. The newborn Christ, the one that's been born in this little humble manger in Virginia Beach, is going to affect the consciousness of this age. I've no doubt about it. Because he's going to come into manhood, he's going to experience and express his ministry. And the best part, the thing that makes people ask questions, is when they see it working for you. And I want you to experience it, to express it.